4 years ago, Adrian Blackwood told his wife she meant nothing and walked away. She vanished without a trace, carrying a secret he could never have imagined. Now fate brings him back to her hospital bed and 2 children who look exactly like him. Will he have the chance to undo the past? Or is it already too late? Stay with me, because this isn't just a story of love. It's a journey through betrayal, regret, and redemption that will break your heart and maybe put it back together again. Watch closely, because every second counts. Adrian Blackwood never believed in love. He believed in power, in silence, in distance, not in affection, not in warmth, not in anything that demanded vulnerability. He was white, young, and devastatingly handsome, dangerously so. A face sculpted by privilege, eyes that held winter in them, a jawline sharper than his decisions. Women admired him, men envied him, but no one truly knew him. His wealth wasn't inherited, it was sharpened, carved from ambition, built from ruthless choices. His empire glowed under his command, just like the city lights that bowed beneath his penthouse. But even with everything, Adrian's heart was an empty vault, cold, locked, untouched. Yet his parents wanted something different for him. They wanted a family, stability, respectability. They wanted a daughter-in-law who could soften him, or at least pretend to. So they forced a marriage, not with a trophy model, not with a society beauty, but with Ayla, a brown-skinned, stunningly beautiful, painfully humble woman. A woman who had not a drop of arrogance in her. A woman who looked at the world with soft eyes despite all the sharpness around her. Ayla wasn't meant for a man like Adrian. Her heart was made of gentleness, kindness, grace, things he didn't understand, things he didn't want. On their wedding day, she smiled at him with hope, a soft, trembling hope, the kind that begged silently for acceptance, the kind that held on to dreams most people would have abandoned. Adrian barely looked at her. His handshake was colder than the vows he repeated. His eyes wandered everywhere except her face. To him, she was a contract, a responsibility, a decision made by others. Ayla entered his mansion with hesitant steps. She tried to adapt to the marble floors and crystal chandeliers. She tried to breathe in a world that had no space for her warmth. Still, she tried. She cooked for him, every dish made with quiet dedication. He never tasted them. He never even glanced at the table. She waited for him late at night, sometimes until dawn, wrapped in blankets of loneliness, listening for footsteps that never came. He always returned when she had fallen asleep on the sofa. He brushed past her like she was part of the furniture. She whispered, "Good morning," with tenderness, a greeting soaked in hope. He walked past her as if the air carried more importance. Ayla learned to silence her disappointment. She learned to hold her tears in private corners. She learned that loving a man who didn't look at her wasn't love at all. It was a slow dying. But still, she tried, because her heart was built that way, soft yet strong, fragile yet determined, a heart too pure for his world of steel. Adrian didn't care. He didn't care about the meals. He didn't care about the waiting. He didn't care about the whispered mornings. He didn't care about the wife he never wanted. He wanted control. He wanted distance. He wanted the freedom to treat marriage like a formality. And he did. Ayla sensed something was wrong long before that night. His late arrivals became later. His detachment became colder. His eyes never met hers anymore, not even by accident. One evening she heard something, a muffled laugh, a high-pitched giggle, a familiar voice. Too familiar. His secretary's voice. Ayla's fingers trembled around the doorknob. Her heartbeat thudded painfully in her chest. Something crawled inside her stomach, fear or confirmation. She couldn't tell. She pushed the door open slowly. The room smelled different. Perfume that wasn't hers, warmth that didn't belong to her, shadows that weren't innocent. Her breath caught, her steps froze, her world stopped. The sight before her was a knife with no mercy. Her husband, on her own bed, with his secretary, not even startled, not even ashamed, not even guilty. Ayla stood there, too stunned to breathe. Her heart didn't just break, it shattered, silently, violently, completely. Everything she had endured led to this moment. Every ignored whisper, every cold shoulder, every lonely night, all of it gathered into a single crushing collapse inside her chest. She couldn't scream, couldn't speak, couldn't understand how the man she tried so hard to love had used her bed, their bed, for someone else. Her feet wouldn't move. Her arms refused to lift. Her voice died in her throat. She just froze, frozen in disbelief, frozen in betrayal, frozen in the moment that destroyed everything she had held onto. The secretary smirked. Adrian didn't flinch. Ayla's world disintegrated. Her heart turned to dust inside her chest. Her soul cracked open with the cruelty of what she saw. And in that silence, the truth screamed louder than anything else. She had never been a wife. Not to him. Not in his heart. Not in his world. Ayla stands paralyzed in the doorway, staring at Adrian on her marriage bed, with his secretary, unable to breathe, unable to speak, unable to move, as the final piece of her heart breaks inside her. Ayla's breath left her body in a sharp, silent gasp. Her lungs forgot how to pull in air. Her ribs tightened as if the room itself had collapsed onto her. The bed that once held her hopes now held her betrayal. Adrian glanced up at her from the pillows, not with shock, not with guilt, but with irritation, like she was interrupting something trivial. His secretary's smirk carved into Ayla's skin like a razor. It wasn't just a smile, it was a mockery of everything Ayla had silently endured, a celebration of her heartbreak. Ayla swallowed the rising scream burning her throat. Her lips trembled as she forced words through them. Why? Why here? Why on our bed? Her voice cracked, fragile, barely sound. It carried more pain than accusation, more confusion than anger, more disbelief than fury. Adrian sat up slowly, sheets falling casually around his waist. His face was unreadable, the kind of cold expression men wore when discussing business deals, not destroying a life. He met her eyes without flinching. His reply struck with precision. Because this marriage means nothing to me. You mean nothing to me. The words sliced through her chest. Not just sharp, clean, final, cruel in their simplicity. Her knees softened, threatening to give way. Her hand shot to the doorframe to steady herself, fingers trembling violently. Her heart felt too heavy for her body, dragging her downward. But somehow she pushed out her voice. Adrian, stop this. Her tone broke like fragile porcelain. Leave this toxic life. Fight for us. Fight for your wife. Her plea was not a demand. It was a last attempt to salvage something she wasn't ready to lose, a desperate reach for a man who never once reached back. Adrian rose from the bed with an ease that sickened her. He stepped closer, each slow movement dripping with dismissal. His eyes met hers, icy, distant, cutting. If you don't like it, he said, each word dropping like stone, leave. Silence flooded the room. Ayla's world narrowed to his cold stare. Everything else, the lamp, the curtains, the photographs, blurred around him. Her voice shrank to a whisper. I want a divorce. He didn't argue. He didn't hesitate. He didn't even blink. Adrian moved to the dresser and pulled out the folders he had prepared long ago. It was then she understood. He had been waiting for this, almost hoping for it. He slammed the papers into her hands with a detached efficiency. Sign, he said. No emotion, no regret, no second thoughts. Her fingers shook as she stared at the documents. Her wedding ring felt like a chain tightening around her finger. Her throat burned with unsaid words, unspoken dreams, unfinished hopes. Still, she signed. Her tears hit the papers before the ink dried. Adrian took the folder back without looking at her face. Done? One word, a single nail sealing the coffin of their marriage. She stumbled away from the doorway, numbness swallowing her. Her feet moved without direction, as if guided only by instinct to escape. The mansion walls seemed to echo with her heartbreak. Each step felt heavier than the last. Outside, the night air slapped against her damp cheeks. It didn't cool her. It stung. Her breaths turned uneven, shallow. Her vision blurred beneath layers of tears. The city lights flickered like distant stars, mocking her collapse. She stepped onto the sidewalk, hugging herself tightly. Not for warmth, but to keep her breaking pieces from falling apart. Her chest ached with every breath. Her mind replayed his words, every syllable of cruelty, every shard of rejection. She whispered to the empty street, "Why wasn't I enough?" Her legs trembled. The weight of the night pressed down on her shoulders. Her lungs pulled in air that felt too thin. Her body felt foreign, shaking uncontrollably. Then a sudden twist seized her stomach, sharp, unexpected, violent. She stumbled forward, gripping her abdomen instinctively. Her breath hitched, another twist, deeper, stronger. Confusion washed over her first, then fear, raw, primal fear. Her pulse pounded in her ears, her vision dimmed at the edges, her knees buckled beneath her. Her heart tried to keep beating, but the pain was overpowering. She collapsed onto the pavement, gasping, trembling. The world spun. Her sobs broke into choking breaths. Something inside her felt wrong, something she couldn't name yet. Her fingers dug into the ground, searching for stability. But the earth offered none. The night offered none. Adrian offered none. She curled slightly, holding her stomach as another jolt tightened through her body. A strange heaviness settled inside her, as if her entire being was shifting. Her tears soaked into the concrete beneath her. Her breaths were sharp, uneven, desperate. Her body was speaking, warning her, changing. Her eyes fluttered as dizziness pulled her deeper. Her sobs faded, her strength drained. The night swallowed her whole, and Ayla, shattered and alone, lay trembling on the cold street, unaware of the life hidden inside her, unaware of the turning point she had just crossed, unaware that her story had just shifted in ways she couldn't yet understand. As Ayla collapses on the street, a sudden deep twist tears through her stomach, an unfamiliar, alarming change, leaving her curled on the pavement, breathless, terrified, and fading fast. Cold tiles, harsh lights, the sterile scent of antiseptic. These were the first things Ayla sensed as her eyes fluttered open. Her body felt heavy, drained, as if someone had pulled every ounce of strength from her bones. She blinked slowly, trying to recall how she ended up on the clinic bed. Fragments returned in scattered flashes. The street, her collapsing knees, the sharp twist in her stomach, the breath she couldn't catch, her heartbreak spilling onto the pavement. A soft voice cut through her haze. "Miss Ayla, can you hear me?" She turned her head toward the doctor, a middle-aged woman with calm, reassuring eyes, the kind of eyes Ayla wished she had seen hours earlier. "You fainted," the doctor said, adjusting the monitor beside her. "Your body underwent severe stress. But we ran some tests, and we found something important." Ayla's throat dried instantly, her fingers tensed on the blanket. "What did you find?" The doctor hesitated, not with fear, but with gentleness, as if preparing to place something delicate into Ayla's fragile hands. She lifted a glossy sheet from the tray, a dark image, two small shapes outlined in grainy shadows. A sound filled the room, soft, steady, rhythmic. "Two heartbeats," the doctor said softly, "strong ones." Ayla's breath caught. Her chest rose and fell unevenly. Her eyes widened as she stared at the ultrasound image. Not one, two. 2 tiny miracles she had never imagined. "You're pregnant," the doctor continued gently, "with twins." The word twins echoed inside Ayla's mind. It reverberated through every wounded corner of her heart. She felt the room tilt. Not from weakness, but from a wave of emotions hitting her all at once. Her fingers brushed over the printed shapes, trembling. Tears escaped her eyes, falling onto the sheet, leaving small wet circles. She whispered, barely audible, I had no idea." The doctor offered a soft nod. "The stress you've been under likely masked the early signs. But they're strong, very strong." Ayla lifted the ultrasound closer to her chest, holding it as if it were fragile glass. 2 heartbeats inside her, growing, waiting for her. Her own heart, broken minutes ago, wavered now with a strange warmth. A pull, a reason. Her hand moved instinctively to her stomach. Her voice trembled with awe and fear. "Maybe. You are the reason I must survive." The doctor smiled gently. "You'll need rest, support, and routine care. Carrying twins is demanding. But you're not alone in this." Ayla nodded, though her eyes dimmed with the truth she carried silently. She was alone. Completely. Utterly. But she couldn't say it. She couldn't break again. Not now. Not with 2 lives depending on her. After she was discharged, she stood outside the clinic, breathing in the cold air. The world looked different now. Sharper. Heavier. Yet strangely brighter. She placed a hand over her belly again, whispering, "I will protect you. I promise." She wrapped her shawl tighter around her shoulders and stepped onto the street. Her mind spun with uncertainty. Where would she go? How would she survive? How would she raise 2 children alone? But even as fear loomed, something inside her solidified. A quiet, fierce determination she didn't know she possessed. She turned away from the direction of the Blackwood mansion without hesitation. There was nothing left for her there. No love, no respect, not even a goodbye. Meanwhile, in that mansion, Adrian Blackwood moved through his days without a shadow of concern, unbothered, untouched, unaffected by the woman who had once stood in his hallway with hope in her hands. He carried on with his secretary. He entertained business deals. He slept peacefully. He believed Ayla had vanished for good. And for him, that was convenient, simple, uncomplicated. No guilt. No regret. Not a single thought spared for the wife he had thrown away. Ayla, unaware of his indifference, walked further from the city center. Her tears had dried, replaced by a quiet strength. She would leave this place. She would build a life far from the man who broke her. But as she reached the outskirts, shadows stretched across the road. A lone street lamp flickered behind her. The night air grew colder. She pulled her coat tight and picked up her pace, but something prickled at the back of her neck. A sensation, a warning, as if unseen eyes were tracing her steps. She glanced over her shoulder. The street seemed empty. Still, the unease didn't leave her. She walked faster. Her heartbeat quickened. Her breaths came shorter. That's when she heard it. A low purr. An engine starting. Smooth. Steady. Too steady. Headlights flared to life behind her. Bright, silent, alert. A black car rolled slowly onto the street. Sleek, shiny, predatory. Ayla stopped. The car slowed. Her pulse hammered. Something felt wrong. Terribly wrong. She stepped backward, clutching the sonogram to her chest. The car advanced with deliberate caution. Not fast, not loud. Just close enough to unsettle her bones. Her instincts screamed, run, hide, protect the 2 heartbeats inside her. She turned and hurried away, her footsteps echoing against the empty pavement. But the car followed, matching her pace, gliding through the darkness like a silent shadow, its headlights trailing her like watchful eyes. A shiver climbed her spine. She wasn't imagining it. She wasn't overthinking. Someone was following her, and they weren't stopping. As Ayla leaves town with the ultrasound still clutched to her chest, a sleek black car slips behind her, its headlights locking onto her trembling silhouette, moving slower, closer, and unmistakably following her into the darkness. Time moved like a quiet river, unrelenting, unstoppable. 4 years passed, 4 years of silence, 4 years of survival. Ayla's life had shifted, not by choice but by necessity. Each day demanded strength she didn't know she possessed. Each night required endurance she had yet to measure. She woke before sunrise, brushing her hair back from her face. Soft brown strands framed eyes that had seen too much, yet refused to harden. She dressed quickly, choosing practicality over beauty, but there was still elegance in the way she carried herself. Her hands, once soft and delicate, now bore the faint calluses of work, of survival. Every fold of her fingers told a story no one could read. Her smile, though gentle, held grit beneath its curve. She became a mother first. Everything else came second, or sometimes third. Aiden and Arya, her heart walking outside her body. Two tiny humans, with Adrian's sharp jaw and icy eyes mirrored in theirs, but their innocence softened by her warmth, her protection, her love. Morning routines were meticulous, breakfast prepared with care, though hurried. School uniforms pressed, tiny shoes tied in perfect bows and laces. She kissed their foreheads, lingering just enough for them to know she was there, truly there, even if the world was cruel. Her nights were longer. Books and work filled the hours, assignments to complete, accounts to balance. A small home turned fortress. She was the warden, the caretaker, the shield. People barely noticed her in passing. Her presence was soft, quiet, blending in, unnoticed, unremarkable. Yet in those who mattered, she radiated strength. Not the kind displayed with luxury or power, but the kind that endured everything and kept standing. Her body, however, whispered a warning she refused to heed. Faint pains in her side, dizziness she disguised with a smile, nausea hidden behind careful sips of water. Her hands sometimes shook while stirring breakfast. Her back ached when she picked up her children. Her chest felt heavy at times, as if she carried more than just responsibilities. She never told the twins. They couldn't know. They couldn't bear it. She smiled at them through pain that clawed at her bones. Her lips curved even when her chest threatened to collapse. She had learned endurance, loneliness, solitude, and most importantly, how to survive. The world outside remained relentless. Neighbors watched her move silently through streets, carrying groceries, picking up toys, hurrying from one chore to another. None knew the weight she bore inside. She studied, books piled high in the small living room. She learned law, accounting, business, anything that could secure her independence. She built a life from the fragments of her broken past. Confidence grew, slowly but unmistakably. She walked taller, spoke with quiet authority, eyes sharp, attentive. Her gaze demanded respect without asking for it. Independence became her armor, not a shield from Adrian, not a weapon against anyone else. A shield for her twins, for herself, for the life she refused to let crumble. But strength came at a price. Her body weakened with time. Fatigue became a permanent companion, pain a quiet shadow at her side. Yet she endured, because the twins were worth everything. Her love for them fueled courage she didn't know existed. Her heart, broken and reshaped, beat stronger than fear. Meanwhile, across the city, Adrian's life faltered in ways he never imagined. The empire he had built began to tremble. Silent cracks grew behind the glossy facade of wealth. Decisions he once made with ease now faltered. Executives left, investors whispered, fortunes wavered, and still Adrian remained alone, his bed empty, his office quiet, his nights long and unbearable. No woman held his hand, no child clung to his leg, no warmth greeted him. He dated no one. He trusted no one. His world had grown painfully small, yet dreams haunted him. Dreams of a woman he could not forget, a woman with braided hair and broken eyes, eyes full of pain, full of strength, full of unspoken words. Her face appeared in corners of his mind, in mirrors, in windows reflecting city lights. Her voice echoed faintly, soft yet commanding. Adrian could not chase it, could not face it, because to admit the memory existed would be to admit he had failed, and he never failed. Back in her small apartment, Isla prepared dinner while the twins played nearby. Laughter filled the air, a fragile but beautiful symphony. She listened, absorbing every sound, committing it to memory. Her movements grew slower. Her head felt light. A deep weariness tugged at her bones. She ignored it, focusing instead on stirring the pot, folding clothes, cleaning counters. Aiden ran past her, laughing. Arya tripped slightly, but Ayla caught her in time. Her smile for them was real, but inside her body screamed in quiet protest. Evenings were the hardest. She carried groceries, laundry baskets, and a load of silent pain. Her back stiff, her hands trembling, yet she refused to show weakness. The city outside seemed distant, a place she moved through carefully, like a shadow avoiding notice. Her life was small, concentrated, carefully measured. And yet, even within this careful life, dangers lurked. The pain she hid threatened to break through. The body she pushed forward whispered warnings she ignored. She tucked the twins into bed, watching them drift off, their soft breathing, their tiny hands curling in sleep. They were her reason, her purpose, her lifeline. She leaned against the doorframe for a moment, breathed in the quiet, her chest tight with exhaustion. But outside, the night was still, empty streets, dim lights, no eyes to watch. Ayla stepped outside for a brief walk, carrying groceries to her car. The chill air brushed against her skin, cooling the sweat of exertion. She felt a sudden weakness in her legs. She stumbled slightly, gripping the edge of the car. Her vision swam, her heartbeat raced. The pain inside her had shifted, grown sharper. She turned, hoping for a neighbor, a passerby, a sign of life. But the street was silent. The world held its breath. A scream ripped from her chest as the pain escalated. Her groceries scattered across the pavement. Her knees hit the ground. The twins, peeking through the window, shouted, "Mom! Mom! Come inside!" Her voice trembled as she tried to respond, but the strength she once relied on betrayed her. She collapsed fully, unable to lift herself. The cold pavement bit through her clothes. Her hands clawed at the concrete instinctively. Aiden and Arya ran to the door, their small voices shrieking in panic. They pounded on the glass, shaking it. But no neighbor appeared. No one came. Ayla felt a surge of fear. Not for herself, but for the children. For the life growing inside her. For the lives she had promised to protect. Her chest tightened, her vision blurred. A scream escaped, ragged, raw, full of desperation. Her body gave way beneath the weight of exhaustion, illness, and hidden pain. Her heart pounded as if to warn her, to plead with her, to demand attention. She tried to lift her head, couldn't. Tried to reach for the door, couldn't. The world outside her apartment felt impossibly far away. Even the faint glow of the street lamp could not pierce the darkness surrounding her body. Her breath came in gasps. Her mind raced with every possibility, every fear. Would she survive this? Would the twins know if she didn't? Would she fail them? The night pressed down on her like a weight, indifferent, unyielding. And as she lay there, trembling, broken, yet fighting against despair, the world around her held its silence. Ayla collapses fully in front of her house, trembling and gasping for breath, as her twins scream from inside the window. No neighbor appears, no help arrives, leaving her isolated in a moment that could change everything. The twins tugged at her arms, small hands trembling with fear. They had never seen their mother so still, so pale, so unresponsive. Ayla's body lay heavy against the asphalt. The morning light barely pierced the narrow street. Her hair fanned out around her head like dark water. Aiden's eyes filled with tears. Arya's lips trembled as she called out, "Mama! Mama! Please wake up!" The twins didn't notice the cold, the dust, the scattered groceries. They only saw the woman who had carried them, fed them, loved them against all odds. The woman who had survived everything so far. The sound of their desperate cries pierced the quiet morning. It echoed down the empty street. No neighbor came, no passerby paused. The world seemed to hold its breath. A sudden roar of an engine made them flinch. A sleek black luxury car rolled to a stop. The driver's door opened. The window rolled down, slowly, deliberately. Adrian Blackwood. The twins froze. Aiden's hands clutched Arya's shoulder. Arya blinked rapidly, unsure if she recognized the man. Adrian stepped out, his tailored suit immaculate even in the chaos. For a moment he didn't move. His breath caught. His heartbeat seemed to stop mid-thump. Then he saw her, Ayla, and his world shattered all over again. He saw her collapsed on the asphalt, her hair matted against her face, her cheeks pale, her lips slightly parted. And then he noticed the children, two little figures beside her, two tiny humans with eyes like his, blue, piercing, identical. The sight struck him like a physical blow. His knees threatened to buckle, his chest felt too tight to breathe. A rush of images slammed through his mind. The nights he had ignored her, the days he had thrown her away, the cruel words he had spoken, the life he had abandoned. And now, here she was, alive, carrying the proof of him in her children. Adrian moved instinctively. He didn't pause. He didn't hesitate. He ran. The twins' cries spurred him forward. "Please, please, help Mama." He knelt beside her. Lifting her in his arms was effortless, almost unreal. Her weight didn't exist against the surge of adrenaline and panic inside him. Her head rested against his shoulder. Her body felt frail, vulnerable, broken. He whispered urgently, voice breaking, "Ayla, Ayla. No, please, and not like this." The twins reached up, their small hands brushing against his coat. "Mister, save Mama, please," they sobbed. He looked down at them, Aiden and Arya. Two tiny versions of himself, yet their innocence pierced him deeper than any mirror. Tears pricked his eyes for the first time in years. Real tears, not the controlled, distant ones he had shed in private, not the stoic masks he had worn before. His chest ached, his throat tightened. Every step he took toward the car felt like walking on broken glass. He placed Ayla gently inside the back seat. Her small frame sagged against the leather. Her head lolled slightly to one side, her breathing shallow, uneven. The twins climbed in beside her without hesitation. Aiden on one side, Arya on the other, each clutching her hand, refusing to let go. Adrian closed the door behind them, heart hammering. Every second felt unbearable. The weight of years of neglect pressed on him. The guilt of every mistake crushed his chest. He sat in the driver's seat, gripping the wheel tightly. His knuckles whitened. The engine roared to life, but his mind was elsewhere. Ayla's phone slipped from the back seat. It hit the floor with a soft thud. He glanced back just in time to see the screen light up. A medical report flashed. Bold letters screamed, "Critical condition." Adrian's breath caught in his throat. Every instinct screamed at him, "Do not waste a second. Do not let her slip." He pressed the accelerator, the tires gripping the asphalt with a scream. The world blurred past the windshield. Every second mattered. The twins clung to their mother, sobbing, whispering prayers he had never heard before. The sound twisted inside him. He had ignored their mother for years, ignored the consequences, ignored the life growing inside her back then. Now the weight of it was unbearable. Every heartbeat reminded him. Every glance at the children reminded him. Every shallow breath she took reminded him. He reached the hospital entrance and skidded to a halt. The tires screeched, echoing down the quiet street. The twins scrambled out, pulling Ayla carefully but urgently. He followed, cradling her head, guiding her like she was fragile porcelain. Doctors rushed toward them immediately. Adrian's suit was wrinkled, his hair disheveled. He ignored everything except her. "She's unconscious, critical," he shouted, his voice cracked, raw with panic, guilt, and desperation. The twins clung to him, whispering, "Mama, please be okay." Arya pressed her tiny face against his chest. Aiden's small fists gripped the collar of his shirt. Adrian's heart twisted. The woman he had abandoned, the woman whose life he had disregarded, was now in peril. And these children, his children, looked at him for strength. He followed the medical team into the emergency room. Every step was urgent, every moment vital. Time moved slower than normal, yet faster than he could handle. He knelt beside her as doctors checked her vitals. Machines beeped, monitors blinked, but he only saw her face, pale, fragile, unmoving. He gripped her hand. Her skin felt cold beneath his fingers. He whispered into the sterile air, "I won't let you go. I can't lose you. Not again." The twins watched silently, their eyes wide with fear and confusion, their tiny hands still holding hers, their tears falling onto her clothes. Adrian's own eyes stung, not from anger, not from power, not from pride, from realization, from regret, from the unbearable weight of every wrong he had done. Every step of the way he stayed close. Every breath he took was for her. Every heartbeat screamed for her survival. The emergency room felt endless. The lights were harsh, the monitors relentless. Yet he refused to leave her side. Every second stretched like hours. Every blink felt like a betrayal. He prayed silently, not to God, not to fate, but to the universe he had ignored for so long. "Let her live," he begged. "Please let her live." And in the corner of the sterile room, the twins whispered again, "Please, Mister, save Mama." Adrian's hand tightened over hers. He didn't need to be told twice. He wouldn't fail them this time. Not now. As Adrian carries Ayla into the emergency room, her phone slips from the back seat, lighting up the floor, revealing a medical report labeled "critical condition," confirming the dire situation and the stakes of every second that passes. The sterile air of the emergency room felt heavier than usual. Machines beeped incessantly, each tone sharper than the last. Adrian's hands shook around Ayla's fragile fingers, cold beneath his grip. He refused to let go, even as doctors and nurses moved with urgency around them. His suit was wrinkled, hair disheveled, eyes wide with panic he had never known. The twins clung to him, tiny hands pressing against his arms. Their soft cries echoed, blending with the harsh beeps of monitors. He watched the medical team move quickly, hand-skilled, efficient, practiced. Yet all he saw was Ayla, not the woman he had ignored, insulted, and discarded, but the woman who had carried life, fought silently, and endured alone. Adrian's chest ached, not just from fear, but from a realization that tore him apart. He had abandoned her. He had left her to carry everything, bear everything, suffer everything, while he moved on without a second thought. His breath hitched. He swallowed. He shook his head as if willing himself to forget, but he could not. The memory of her soft smile flashed before his eyes, the gentle way she had moved through their home, the hope she had carried even when he had discarded her like a trinket. And now she lay before him, unresponsive, pale, fragile. He pressed his forehead against her arm. "I did this," he whispered, voice breaking, gripping her hand as though he could pull back the years, the cruelty, the negligence. The twins remained quiet behind him, eyes wide, watching a man they had never truly known, watching a stranger who now trembled with raw emotion. Adrian lifted his gaze slightly and froze. The children mirrored his own features, sharp blue eyes, delicate cheekbones, the same jawline he saw in mirrors every morning. He had never thought he would see himself reflected in their small faces. Not like this. Arya's voice broke the silence, soft, hesitant, full of fear and curiosity. "Are you our father?" The question struck him like a lightning bolt. Every nerve in his body tensed, his throat constricted, unable to form words. He opened his mouth. Nothing came. The twins flinched, unsure of his reaction. Aiden stepped forward, tiny hands reaching for him, tears sparkling in his bright blue eyes. "Will you save Mama?" The words were simple, innocent, but they crushed him, pressed down on his chest. Every decision he had ever made, every moment he had squandered, weighed on him like lead. He nodded, finally, voice caught in his throat, unable to speak, unable to apologize, unable to undo the past. The nod said it all. "I will do everything. I will protect her. I will make this right." He looked down at Ayla, seeing the fragile woman who had endured unimaginable pain for years. The woman who had carried his children alone, who had sacrificed her own health, her own comfort, her own happiness for them. His eyes stung with tears he refused to let fall. Tears of regret, tears of guilt, tears for the lost time, the lost moments, the lost life he could have shared with her. The twins watched silently, unsure whether to fear or trust the man before them. The stranger who now held their mother's hand as if it were the most precious thing in the world. Adrian's thoughts raced. Every memory of their brief marriage hit him at once. Every insult he had hurled, every night he had spent elsewhere, every decision that had left her alone. The truth settled on him like ice. He had destroyed her life. He had destroyed the life of the only woman who had ever loved him unconditionally. And yet, here she was, alive, breathing, though barely. The sound of her shallow breaths pierced him, a rhythm he had never noticed before. Every inhale a plea for survival, every exhale a whisper of hope he hadn't earned. He pressed his forehead to hers again. Silent apologies ran through his mind. Words he would never speak aloud. Promises he would have to prove through action. The medical team moved efficiently, their voices calm but urgent. Adrian followed their instructions, holding her hand, never leaving her side. The twins clung to him, their small bodies trembling. He stroked their hair absent-mindedly, trying to offer comfort while he fought to keep his own panic at bay. A nurse approached with a clipboard. "Vitals are stabilizing, but she's very weak. She needs observation and treatment immediately." Adrian nodded, focusing entirely on her. He felt every ounce of responsibility crash down on him, every wrong, every missed moment, every insult, every absence. He could not take it back. He could only move forward. And now he had to be everything: protector, father, guardian, and perhaps, one day, the man she might trust again. The twins whispered softly, unsure if their father could be trusted. Aiden's small hand pressed against Ayla's arm. Arya's tears fell silently. Adrian looked down at them, a promise forming in his chest. He would not fail them. Not now. Not ever again. Every memory of neglect, every past cruelty, every lie he had told himself about love and marriage, all converged into a single moment of clarity. He would fight. He would be present. He would do everything to save her, to save them. His heartbeat raced, tears welled. Fear and determination collided violently in his chest. The room seemed smaller, yet louder. The machines beeped, the twins cried, the doctors whispered. And then the door opened. A figure entered, tall, composed, but with an unmistakable weight of urgency. The doctor, face grave, eyes locked on Adrian, every step deliberate, measured. Adrian's stomach clenched. His heart thudded painfully in his chest. The twins clung tighter to him. He pressed his forehead again to Ayla's hand. Every nerve in his body screamed. The doctor's voice cut through the room like a blade. "Mr. Blackwood, there's something you need to know." Adrian froze, every muscle locked, every thought shattered. He looked from the doctor to Ayla, from Ayla to the twins. The weight of 4 years pressed down on him, suffocating, unrelenting. He braced himself. Every ounce of courage summoned, every moment of pride stripped away, every failure staring him straight in the face. He could not run. He could not hide. He could not undo the past. The next words would change everything. The doctor enters with a grave expression. "Mr. Blackwood, there's something you need to know," leaving Adrian frozen, the twins watching, and the room suspended in unbearable tension. Ayla's eyelids fluttered open, slow, heavy, as if the world itself pressed down upon her. Light stung her eyes. The hum of machines filled her ears, beeping, rhythmic, relentless. She tried to lift her head. A sharp pain shot through her chest, her throat dry, every swallow a battle. Her first thought immediate, frantic, clawing at her heart. Where are my children? Her voice was a hoarse whisper, barely audible, fragile as glass. It trembled, cracked. A sound of fear she hadn't allowed herself in years. Adrian leaned closer, his hands outstretched, restrained by guilt and urgency. "They're safe," he said, voice low but steady, carrying a weight she hadn't expected. She instinctively pushed his hand away, weak but firm. Her arms shook. Her body trembled with exhaustion. Her voice came out brittle, fragile, like dry leaves breaking apart. "Don't touch me." His heart twisted violently in his chest. Every second without her had carved a void too deep to fill. Every word of rejection, every tear she had shed for him, replayed mercilessly. "I'm sorry, Ayla. Please, let me help." He spoke softly, almost pleading. Every syllable drenched in the regret he had kept hidden for years. "Help?" she whispered, incredulous. "Help? The only thing you ever gave me was pain." Her words struck him harder than any blow could. He flinched, stunned, but he stayed. He had nowhere else to go. Nothing else mattered. But the truth lingered unspoken, a shadow he hadn't yet seen fully. Something Ayla never told him, something he would have never guessed. A nurse approached, calm but deliberate, holding a chart. "Mr. Blackwood," she said, voice low, measured, "there's something you need to understand about her condition." Adrian leaned closer, tension coiling in his shoulders. Every muscle taut, every breath shallow, every thought caught in a vice. The nurse explained, her voice careful, precise. The illness. It began during her pregnancy, the stress, the trauma from the divorce, the emotional strain. Her body never fully recovered. Adrian felt as if a knife had pierced his chest. The words sank deep, sharper than any physical wound. Each syllable was a reminder of his failures, his cruelty, his negligence. Ayla's eyes, still clouded with fatigue and fear, caught fragments of the conversation. A flash of memory flickered across her face. Late nights carrying groceries, long hours working 2 jobs, moments she had forced a smile while her body screamed for rest, the quiet suffering she had hidden from everyone. Adrian's hands clenched around the sheets beneath her. Every second she had endured alone, every silent tear, every whispered prayer, every painful night, he had ignored it all. I had no idea, he whispered, voice hoarse, raw. I never knew. I failed you. The twins clung to him, their small faces pale and anxious. Arya's lips trembled. Aiden's blue eyes shimmered with unshed tears. They didn't fully understand the depth of her suffering, but they knew pain when it stood before them. Ayla's chest rose and fell weakly. Her fingers twitched slightly as if reaching for the strength to push him away again. Her pride, her fear, her habit of self-preservation warred with the vulnerability she couldn't hide. Adrian lowered his head, pressing his forehead gently against her hand. I will not leave you, he said. I will fix this. I promise. I will stay no matter what it takes. Her eyes flickered open, sharp with suspicion and exhaustion. Stay, she asked, voice barely above a whisper. You want to stay? After all the years, all the pain, all the nights you left me alone. His throat tightened. He had no words that could truly convey the depth of his regret. He could not undo the past. All he could do was stand there and bear the weight of his mistakes. The nurse adjusted her mask slightly and glanced at Adrian. Mr. Blackwood, her vitals are stabilizing for now, but you must understand, her condition is precarious. Any emotional or physical strain could worsen it. Adrian's gaze fell to the twins, then back to Ayla. He felt the enormity of the truth pressing down on him. The years of absence, the suffering she had endured silently, the fact that their children had grown without him. He swallowed hard, unable to look away from her pale, fragile face. Every memory he had tried to suppress surged forward in an unbearable torrent. The nights he ignored her cries, the days he spent elsewhere, indifferent, the weeks he believed she would simply vanish without consequence. And now, here she was, alive, but fragile, her life and the lives of their children resting on his presence, his decisions, his ability to act. Ayla's eyelids fluttered again. She reached a trembling hand toward the twins instinctively, then recoiled, unsure if she could trust Adrian's sudden concern. Adrian, feeling the weight of both her distrust and her fragility, leaned closer again. His voice low, trembling. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, I don't, but I will do everything in my power to make it right. Please, let me. The twins held their mother tightly, whispering softly, Mama, please, it's okay. He's here. Aiden's hand brushed her hair. Arya's small fingers gripped her sleeve. Oyla's chest rose and fell rapidly, caught between pain, fear, and the faintest glimmer of hope. Her mind raced with questions, doubts, anger, and confusion. The nurse's voice broke the tension. Mr. Blackwood, we need to monitor her continuously. Any sudden change could be critical. Adrian's eyes flickered toward the monitor. Numbers blinked, machines beeped. Every second felt heavier than the last. He bent closer to her, voice barely audible. I will not fail you. I will not let anything happen to you, or to them. I swear it. The twins clung silently, watching, unsure whether to trust him fully. A shadow of fear lingered in their eyes, but their mother's presence kept them rooted. Ayla's lips moved slightly, whispering something he couldn't hear, her voice fragile as paper. He wanted to lean closer, to catch every word, to understand every thought. But before he could, the door burst open. A nurse rushed in, urgency radiating from her every movement. Her expression was grave, her voice sharp, controlled. Mr. Blackwood, her condition has suddenly worsened. You need to step aside immediately. Adrian froze. Time itself seemed to pause. The twins clung tighter to him, sensing the sudden shift in tension. Ayla's frail body stirred slightly, her eyelids fluttering weakly. Everything he had feared collided in that instant. The past, the guilt, the helplessness, the children's desperate eyes, all converged in a single moment of terror. He felt paralyzed, unable to move, unable to speak, unable to process the weight of what was happening before him. The nurse's grip on his arm was firm. "This is serious. We need space," she said urgently. Adrian glanced back at Ayla, at the twins, her face pale, vulnerable, flickering in and out of consciousness. Their small hands pressed against her arm, tears streaking her cheeks. A spike of panic gripped him. He had to act. He had to protect her. He could not, would not, let her slip from him now. Every regret, every lost year, every broken promise burned hotter than ever. Every moment he had ignored her now demanded retribution, demanded action, demanded presence. He straightened, chest heaving, eyes blazing with desperate resolve. "I'm not leaving her. Not ever," he whispered, though no one but the twins heard. The nurse's voice cut through the room again, urgent and commanding. "Mr. Blackwood, step aside. She could go into critical failure at any moment." Adrian's hands hovered over hers, torn between obeying and staying close. The twins' small bodies pressed against him. They were his anchor, his tether to the only family he had ever truly ignored. And in that moment he realized this was the consequence of 4 years lost, of cruelty, of selfishness, of neglect. And he would bear it, endure it, fight it, until her life and the lives of their children were safe. Every heartbeat echoed in the silent tension of the emergency room. Every breath felt like a countdown. Every second carried the weight of his sins and the hope of redemption. A nurse rushes in. Ayla's condition has suddenly worsened, leaving Adrian frozen with fear, the twins clinging to him, and the emergency room tense with the possibility that everything could be lost. The emergency room erupted into chaos. Alarms screamed, red lights blinked, machines beeped faster, harsher, a staccato of urgency. Doctors pushed past Adrian without ceremony. Their voices were clipped, professional, urgent. "Step back, clear the area. We need space." The twins clung to each other, their small faces streaked with tears. Aiden sobbed into Arya's shoulder. Arya's little hands reached out for Adrian, but he could do nothing but kneel beside them. His knees hit the floor, cold, unforgiving. He shook uncontrollably, every muscle taut with fear, guilt, and panic. "You can't take her," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Not after I realized I loved her." A nurse's hand rested on his shoulder, firm but compassionate. Her voice cut through his despair. "Mr. Blackwood, there's something you need to understand about her past, about why this happened." Adrian looked up, eyes wide, searching. The chaos swirled around him, but he froze, listening. "She refused treatment," the nurse said slowly, carefully. "For years. She didn't want anyone to know, and she couldn't afford it." The words sank into him like ice water. His chest tightened. Every breath felt jagged. He saw it clearly now. Everything he had ignored, everything he had dismissed, every scornful word, every night spent elsewhere. It had forced her into survival mode. She had borne everything alone. Tears streamed down his face. He gripped the edge of the stretcher, knuckles white. The weight of 4 years pressed down with unbearable force. Adrian thought of the nights she had worked 2 jobs, the evenings she had collapsed into their tiny apartment, exhausted, yet still managing to feed and care for the twins, the silent battles she had fought while he lived in oblivion. Her sacrifices weren't glamorous. They weren't spoken about. They were quiet, relentless, unforgiving. He realized how little he had known her, how blind he had been to her strength, to her suffering, to the magnitude of her courage. Every memory he had buried surfaced, every cruel word he had spoken, every moment he had failed her. He saw her walking through life alone, smiling through pain, hiding weakness, keeping herself standing while the world ignored her. He felt the sting of shame pierce him deeper than any wound he had ever known. She had loved him, trusted him, believed in him, and he had destroyed that. His body shook with grief, every sob racking his frame. The twins cried softly beside him, unsure of what to do, unsure if the man kneeling before them could ever be the father they longed for. Adrian's voice broke again. I didn't know," he whispered. "I had no idea. I failed you, all of you." The nurse continued gently, her voice a steady anchor in the chaos. She hid everything. She bore the illness alone to protect the children. She never wanted them to see her weakness, never wanted them to suffer with her. That is why she never sought treatment. Adrian pressed his forehead to his hands, heart hammering violently. Every regret clawed at him. Every memory of cruelty, of abandonment, of selfishness came crashing back. He thought of her eyes, the ones that had once pleaded for understanding, for love, for acknowledgement. The eyes that had now endured pain silently for years. He thought of the twins, small and vulnerable, standing behind him, reflections of himself, bearing witness to the devastation he had caused. He had no right to plead, no right to ask for forgiveness, no right to exist in their lives after everything he had done. Yet he could not turn away. He could not leave them. Not now. A wave of realization hit him. He had loved her all along. Not the idea of her, not the convenience of marriage, not the superficial presence of a wife to satisfy social expectations. He had loved her. But love, unacknowledged, unspoken, delayed, it had almost destroyed her. Adrian's shoulders shook violently. Tears flowed freely, unrestrained, raw. Years of repression, pride, ego, and indifference now exploded within him. The twins wrapped their small arms around his legs instinctively. He held them close, shaking, sobbing, muttering apologies into their hair. The nurse gently guided him, voice calm. "Mr. Blackwood, we need you to focus. She's unstable. You must let us do our work. But stay close. She needs the presence of family now." He nodded, though his hands never left hers, his eyes never leaving her face. He silently vowed over and over again, "I will not fail again. I will not leave her alone. I will fight for her, for them, for the life I abandoned." Every second stretched into eternity. Every heartbeat echoed the past and the present, colliding violently. He saw it all now, the silent tears, the hidden exhaustion, the sleepless nights, the sacrifices she made in complete solitude, the fear she had swallowed, the pain she had endured, the battles she had fought for him and their children. The magnitude of her strength left him breathless, and for the first time in years, he truly understood the woman he had lost. He pressed a kiss to her hand, trembling, murmuring through choked tears, "I love you. I've always loved you, and I will spend every breath making this right." The twins clung tighter, sensing his desperation, their small voices whispering, "Please, Mama, don't leave us." Adrian's chest ached. Every fiber of his being demanded he act, he fight, he beg the universe to spare her. Her shallow breathing intensified. Monitors beeped faster. The chaos of the emergency room pressed in on him like a storm. He straightened, wiping tears from his cheeks, hands shaking, resolute in the knowledge that he could no longer hide behind pride or fear. He had to face the consequences of his years of neglect. And then the door of the emergency room opened slowly. A doctor stepped out, face grim, eyes locked on Adrian. The world seemed to still for a heartbeat. The twins clutched him tighter. Every muscle in Adrian's body tensed. His mind raced, anticipating the words that would seal the next moment of their lives. The doctor's voice was deliberate, measured, carrying a weight that pressed down on Adrian's chest. Mr. Blackwood, prepare yourself. Time froze. His heart skipped. The twins' small faces reflected both fear and hope, and Adrian felt, more than ever, the weight of every wrong he had committed, every life-altering choice, every tear he had caused. He took a deep breath, holding the twins close, pressing his forehead to Ayla's hand once more, ready to face whatever truth awaited them, even if it shattered everything he thought he knew. A doctor steps out of the emergency room and says, "Mr. Blackwood, prepare yourself," leaving Adrian frozen, the twins clinging to him, and the air heavy with the promise of a revelation that could change everything. Isla's eyes fluttered open slowly, the fluorescent light above her harsh yet familiar. Her body felt weak, almost foreign, as though the weight of 4 years of suffering clung to every bone, every muscle. She could hear the soft, rhythmic breathing of the twins nearby, small, steady, a comforting reminder that she was not alone. Adrian had not left, not for a second. Days had passed, yet he remained by her bedside, a silent sentinel over her fragile form. At first, Ayla had kept her distance, watching him quietly, suspiciously. Every movement, every word, every glance carried the ghost of their past. He had hurt her. He had betrayed her. He had walked away. Could anything change that? But Adrian did not waver. He made small gestures, almost imperceptible at first. He brewed tea in the mornings, leaving it on her bedside table. He brought blankets, adjusted pillows, ensured she was comfortable without being asked. For the twins, he transformed entirely. He cooked meals, sometimes laughing awkwardly when things burned or spilled. He read bedtime stories using different voices for each character, making Aiden and Arya giggle uncontrollably. He coaxed them to eat vegetables, reminding them gently of their strength. He played games they invented, joining wholeheartedly, never once showing impatience. Through it all, he apologized, not with words alone, but through actions, through presence, through unwavering attention. He did not demand forgiveness. He did not seek redemption in grand speeches. He simply stayed, proving in quiet, constant ways that he was different now. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, change began to blossom. Aiden's stiff demeanor softened, the walls around his young heart breaking just enough to trust. Arya's cautious smiles appeared more often, her laughter occasionally spilling over in the room. Their small acts of acceptance were tentative, delicate, fragile, but they were real. Oyla watched, a strange ache settling deep in her chest. She saw the man she had once despised, now devoted entirely to their family, every action steeped in genuine care. Her heart, long protected by walls of fear and betrayal, stirred with emotions she had refused to name. She observed quietly as he folded their clothes, humming softly. She watched as he comforted a tearful Aiden who had fallen off the chair. She felt the warmth of his hand resting gently on Arya's shoulder as she refused her vegetables. The realization struck her subtly. The man who had once caused her so much pain was now capable of immense tenderness. She did not trust this transformation yet, did not forgive the past, did not allow hope fully into her heart. But the seeds were planted. The ice around her emotions had begun to crack. One evening, the room was quiet except for the rhythmic beep of the monitor and the soft breathing of the twins, asleep on the floor beside her bed. Adrian knelt beside her, both hands clasped together in desperate sincerity, eyes glistening with unspoken emotion. "Ayla," he whispered, voice breaking, "I'm sorry for every tear you shed. Give me a chance to fix everything, not for me, but for you, for them, for what we lost." Her eyes brimmed with tears, hot and blinding. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to feel the full weight of her grief, her pain, her longing. She had carried so much alone, had endured betrayal and abandonment, had raised children under unimaginable strain. And yet, here he was, vulnerable, pleading, offering his heart without expectation, without ego. The twins stirred slightly, sensing the shift in their mother's emotions. Aiden's small hand brushed her arm. Arya's fingers fidgeted in her blanket. Even they seemed to recognize the fragile sincerity emanating from Adrian. Ayla's chest heaved with a complicated blend of emotions: anger, hurt, resentment, longing, and an unfamiliar flicker of hope. Forgiveness, she realized, was a mountain she could not yet climb, but acknowledgement of effort, recognition of change, a willingness to try, these could be seeds. She watched him kneel there, silent but pleading, and felt a strange ache twist in her heart. She had thought she wanted distance, thought she had moved past the possibility of trust. But his presence, his unyielding care, his unwavering commitment, it forced her to reconsider. Days blurred into nights. Adrian's dedication never waned. He stayed awake with her when she could not sleep. He read the twins' stories aloud even when they begged for more. He held her hand gently, brushing hair from her face, humming softly, ensuring she felt seen and protected. Ayla noticed small, profound changes in herself. She could breathe easier when he was near. She laughed quietly at the twins' antics and caught herself glancing at him without resentment. She could admit, silently, carefully, that his presence was a balm to her fragile soul. One night, as the hospital lights dimmed, she sat up slowly, muscles protesting. The twins were asleep, heads resting against pillows, small chests rising and falling in unison. Adrian noticed immediately and leaned closer, hands hovering, ready to assist if needed. She took a deep breath, voice weak but resolute. I need to speak," she whispered. He nodded, encouraging, silent, hands still joined in his lap. Her knees buckled slightly as she swung her legs over the edge of the bed. Adrian moved closer instinctively, ready to steady her, ready to protect her from herself. But before she could finish her words, a sudden wave of weakness overtook her. Her vision blurred, the room spun, her knees gave way, and she collapsed again, barely conscious. Arms reaching instinctively toward Adrian. He caught her immediately, panic flooding his expression. The twins stirred awake, crying out, their small voices filled with fear. Adrian's heart thumped violently. He pressed her to him, murmuring frantic reassurances. "I've got you. I've got you. Stay with me. Please, stay with me." The monitors beeped faster, more urgently. Red lights reflected in his tear-filled eyes. Every second felt like a lifetime. Every breath was a battle. Adrian realized in that moment the fragility of her body and the immense weight of what she had endured alone. He pressed a kiss to her forehead, hands trembling, murmuring, "You're not alone anymore. I won't leave you. I swear I won't leave you." The twins clutched his coat, small hands desperate, trusting, terrified. A wave of realization struck Adrian fully. He would do anything. He would endure anything. He would never repeat the mistakes of the past. Every regret, every betrayal, every moment of coldness, all came rushing back. But now he had a chance to atone, to protect, to love fully and fiercely. Ayla gets out of bed to speak, but suddenly collapses again, leaving Adrian clutching her in fear, the twins screaming, and the future hanging by a thread. Ayla's eyes fluttered open, her vision still blurred, the faint hum of the hospital machines steady in the background. Her body felt weak, exhausted, but not entirely broken. Adrian's arms were around her, firm, protective, unwavering. "I thought I lost you. Again," he whispered, his voice low, shaking, full of a vulnerability she had never heard from him before. She blinked slowly, really looked at him. The man before her was not the cold-hearted millionaire she had once despised. This was a man stripped of pride, stripped of ego, bearing the rawness of regret and the sincerity of love. Alia's lips trembled as she whispered, voice barely audible, "Adrian, if you hurt me again, I will walk away forever." His hand tightened slightly around hers, reverent and gentle. "I won't," he said with quiet certainty. "I'll spend my life proving it. Every day, every moment, every breath." For the first time, Ayla didn't pull away. She let her fingers intertwine with his, let her head rest lightly against his chest. A tremor ran through her body, not of fear, but of cautious hope. Weeks passed. Her body regained strength, slowly, painfully, but with determination. Every morning she woke to find Adrian beside her, awake before her, making tea, checking her medication, reading to the twins while she rested. Every day he demonstrated a devotion she had longed for, a consistency she had never known. Adrian's transformation was tangible. The secretary who had caused so much pain was gone, escorted out of his life with finality. All toxic habits, the late nights, the cold indifference were gone. He spent hours with the twins, teaching, playing, loving, guiding with patience and care. And with Ayla he practiced gentleness, respect, and attention she had never received from him before. He learned her rhythms, her likes and dislikes. He listened when she spoke, never interrupting, never dismissing. He held her hand through pain, celebrated small victories in her health, and allowed her space when she needed it. He apologized without expectation, and she slowly learned to listen, to acknowledge, to trust cautiously. The twins flourished in the warmth of their father's love. Aiden laughed freely, his once guarded eyes sparkling with mischief. Arya's smiles became frequent, genuine, her little voice echoing throughout the home with joy. The house that had once felt empty, cold, and distant now vibrated with life. The smell of breakfast in the morning, the sound of giggles echoing down the hallway, the small mundane acts of family life, these were treasures. Adrian witnessed the weight of what he had missed and was determined to never repeat it. One rainy evening, the twins tugged at their parents' hands, small fingers gripping tightly. "Mama, Daddy, can we live together now?" Aiden asked softly. Arya's eyes sparkled with hope, her small smile illuminating her face. Ayla looked into Adrian's soft blue eyes, searching, questioning, and finally seeing the truth reflected there. Sincerity, redemption, love earned through action, not words alone. She nodded slowly, a quiet smile forming, her heart lifting with a cautious, fragile hope. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, we can." Adrian pulled her gently into his arms. Tears fell freely from his eyes, mingling with hers, soaking into her hair. He pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead, then another to her lips. Slow, emotional, healing. Every touch, every kiss, every embrace carried years of regret, love, and a promise of renewal. The twins squealed, giggling as they pressed close, feeling the warmth and security of the family they had always needed. They hugged their parents, small arms wrapping around both, uniting them in a bond that had been fractured but never broken. The rain continued to fall outside, a gentle rhythm against the windows. Inside, the family breathed as one. Alia rested her head against Adrian's chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. The twins curled beside them, small and content, and Adrian held them all with a reverence he had never known he possessed. He whispered again, barely audible, yet filled with conviction. "We are home now, together, always." Ayla smiled softly, her tears drying, her heart lighter than it had been in years. The pain of the past lingered, scars of betrayal and suffering, but they were no longer chains. They were reminders of strength, survival, and the love that had endured even through the darkest times. Adrian kissed the top of her head gently, eyes closed, silent gratitude and devotion radiating from him. The twins laughed quietly, whispering to each other. their happiness reflected in the calm, warm atmosphere. Life would not be perfect. There would be challenges, fears, moments of doubt, but they would face them together as a family reborn. The man who had once been cold-hearted had learned love, humility, and the power of selflessness. The woman who had once been betrayed had reclaimed her strength, her voice, and her heart. The storm outside intensified, but inside there was warmth, there was safety, there was love. Every heartbeat in the room carried the promise of healing, the joy of reunion, and the quiet celebration of life reclaimed. Adrian pressed his lips to hers again, softly, slowly, reverently. The twins cheered quietly, their small hands holding theirs together, their smiles radiant. Ayla rested her hand over his, feeling the warmth, the sincerity, the promise. For the first time in years, she believed in the possibility of love without betrayal. For the first time, she believed in him. The hospital room, once a place of fear and fragility, now glowed with quiet hope. It was a sanctuary built from redemption, patience, and the enduring power of love. The family, once broken, now whole, embraced each other tightly. No words were needed. Their silence spoke volumes. Every tear shed, every apology whispered, every act of love had led them here. Adrian whispered into her hair, his voice trembling with emotion. "I will spend my life proving that I am worthy of you, of us, of this family." Ayla's lips curved into a genuine smile, soft and healing. The twins laughed, small giggles filling the air. Outside, the rain began to lighten, soft droplets tapping against the window pane like a lullaby. For the first time, they all felt it. Complete, unshakable, enduring love. The past had been painful, cruel, and unfair. The years apart had carved wounds deep and raw, but here, in the quiet aftermath of fear, betrayal, and regret, they discovered something far greater. Forgiveness, redemption, and the kind of love that can withstand even the darkest storms. Ayla rested her head once more against Adrian's chest. The twins nestled beside them, safe, content, loved. And Adrian held them all, the broken pieces of their lives finally fitting together. They were no longer defined by the past. They were defined by what they chose now: family, love, trust, and healing. As rain dripped from the roof, a calm, peaceful silence filled the room. No words were needed. Every heartbeat, every breath, every touch spoke louder than any declaration could. The world outside continued, indifferent to their story. But inside, in that small room filled with tears, laughter, and healing hearts, a family had been reborn. And for the first time, the future felt wide, open, and infinite. The love that had been tested, broken, and betrayed had endured. It had been forged in fire, strengthened by hardship, and now it shone brightly, undeniable, unshakable. And as Adrian held Ayla and their children, he whispered one final promise. "Sometimes, the greatest love stories are born from the deepest regrets." The twins hugged tighter. Ayla smiled, eyes shining. Adrian kissed the top of her head. The family was whole. For the first time in years, they all exhaled together. The pain of the past still lingered, but the promise of tomorrow was theirs. They had survived, they had forgiven, they had loved, and that was enough. Sometimes, the greatest love stories are born from the deepest regrets.